Hello everybody, good afternoon, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your Manchester United versus Newcastle United Carabao Cup preview. No Eric Ten Hag press conference, he's not obliged, the club's not obliged to do a press conference for the Carabao game, so they never normally do it, but lots to discuss as we take on Newcastle in what has to be described as a must-win game. Probably more of a must-win game than we would like it to be. The Carabao Cup is nice to win, but I wouldn't say it's something that we prioritise at the start of the season. But we will be prioritising it this season because I think it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United to finish in the top six. I think it's very unlikely that Man United are going to win any other trophy other than the Carabao Cup. And as the holders of this tournament and as a makeshift level of success, then I think Ten Hag will take this very, very seriously, which is why it's so difficult to predict this team lineup, because I think he will take it very seriously. Newcastle could be a slippery customer, but on the other hand, I think Newcastle will certainly make changes at fullback. I think Livramento will play instead of Trippier. I think Targett will play at left back instead of Dan Burn. I think in the middle, Willock will obviously come in, I would think, but I still think they'll have people like Bruno Guimaraes involved. I still think that they'll stick with their normal centre-backs. I think Nick Pope will be in goal. Callum Wilson will play through the middle. Maybe Gordon will play off the left. Almiron off the right. So I still think that they're a capable team that could come and cause us problems. But they've got a home game against Arsenal on Saturday. And then they've got a huge game a week on Tuesday, a week today, in Dortmund in the Champions League. So, look, it's logical to say that the priority from these 3 games in 6 days, and that is a big demand on Newcastle, who looked out of energy against Wolves at the weekend. As many people predicted with Newcastle, can they deal with volume of games that they didn't have last year? They did brilliantly last year and they were very fresh. They're now having to play what big clubs have to play, a lot of games, and I think it's starting to take its toll on them. So realistically, they are not going to prioritise the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford over a home game against Arsenal at St James's Park and a Dortmund game away in the Champions League, which could play into our hands. But on the other hand, it puts more pressure on us. We have to win this game. I've just given an excuse as to why Newcastle might not win, because it's going to be their lowest priority and they're very tired. So it's a great time to play Newcastle. We're Manchester United. It's at Old Trafford. We've just lost to Manchester Derby, the bounce back, whatever. There needs to be a response from United, and I'm not brave enough to say it's going to happen. There should be one. We should be, turning up from minute one, getting the crowd up, attack, get some rhythm going, win the game 2 or 3-0. That's what should happen. But look, I'm not going to predict that that's going to happen because I just don't know. We're hearing that the players are starting to question the manager and his tactics. We're hearing the manager apparently after the game on Sunday made the players sit in silence so that they could hear the Man City celebrations in the dressing room. It feels like there is a conflict, and quite rightly there should be a conflict. It's a disgraceful start to the season. We've played 10 Premier League games and we've lost 5. And we could have lost more. Like, Wolves should have beat us. They should have beaten us. Wolves should have beat us. Brentford nearly did beat us. So there's 2 wins straight away where you'd go, we've been a little bit lucky. I'd say Burnley away were a little bit lucky as well. So, look, there's a lot to worry about with Manchester United at the moment. There's a lot to be concerned about. But let's get into the team and how I think he will go. Look, I think that there has to be some rotation for 2 reasons. There's got to be some rotation here. First of all, I think that players that don't play well, it's the perfect game to drop them in a home game, in a Carabao Cup game. So certain players need to be dropped. Certain players need to be rested. Certain players need to be dropped / hashtag rested. It's whatever you want to call it. There has to be some rotation. You can't rotate away against Fulham. It's too big a game on Saturday lunchtime. You can't rotate against Copenhagen away. It's too big a game next week. So you've got to rotate in a game like this. And if you can't rotate in a game like this, what are we doing? Like, we can't moan about injuries and we can't moan about volume of games and then not rotate the team. So you've got to rotate this team. Look, in goal, I would stick with Onana. He's in good form at the moment. And I think that you have to, it'd be nice to see Binder get a game, but we're not in that position where what does putting a reserve goalkeeper in do for us? Unless we're looking for him to take Onana's position, which we're not. If you're in a good position and the team's performing well, give your goalkeeper a rest. we're not in a good position. We're fighting for our lives. Get the goalkeeper in goal and, you know, keep going for him. It's not a pre-record, hey. I don't know why people think it is. We are live. Josh says, I low-key like that team. 100% live, Psycho. 100% live. So, look, Onana in goal, Delo at right back, Lindelof and Evans, I would go at centre back. I think Maguire is going to play at the weekend, and Varane, what's the point in putting... If Varane can only play one game a week, why would you play him in the Carabao Cup? So go Evans and Lindelof at centre back. Reguilon has to play at left back. We haven't got any other left backs. I think the midfield three for me is an opportunity. This is our weakest area of the team. The defence is weak because of injuries. It's not... You can't do anything about that. But you can do something about the midfield. Casemiro should not be risked in a game like this. If he's going to be back, bring him back for Fulham. Therefore, Amrabat plays as the holding midfielder. Mount was bought to be the number 8. So can we see what it's like with Mount as a number 8? And Eriksen, or put Eriksen as the 8. I don't really mind. I mean, we've got actually Mount as the number 10 in this situation, but I don't really mind. Let's just try Amrabat, Eriksen and Mount. Because one thing you will get is a bit of tenacity, and better movement of the ball, which then I think Garnacho has to start on the left. I mean, if Rashford starts this game, and I'm sure he will, I think there'll be a sharp intake of breath at Old Trafford tomorrow night, and there'll be a sharp intake of breath for those on the watch-along and everybody watching at home. It will be, wow. You know, for so many reasons, Garnacho needs to start. And not on the right wing. He has to start on the left wing. And for so many reasons. 1, he's been patient. 2, he deserves it. And 3, it's the Carabao Cup. We need to rotate, you know, even from fitness points of view. So Garnacho's got to play off the left. Højlund, I'd play him for an hour and bring Martial on. I just think Højlund could probably do with a goal. He probably could do with the rest, but he could probably do with a goal as well. And then Anthony, I would start because realistically, we've sort of framed Anthony as the fall guy for the derby. I think he came on when it was 3-0. He only came on for a short period of time. So give him a start. Give him a start. And I'd like to see that front 6 given a chance. There's 5 changes there, really. Amrabat comes back in. Mount and Eriksen starts. Anthony starts. Garnacho comes in. I'm quite happy to see that team. Look, I've got no problems with what people are saying in the chat about, you know, Hannibal playing. That would be good. I would like to see Mabry start. I don't mind seeing that. There are other suggestions as well, but I'd be very happy with that team. What I don't want to see, and I suspect we will see, I don't want to see Bruno start in a game of football. I don't want to see Rashford start in a game of football. I don't want to see Varane starting. I don't want to see Casemiro starting. I think all those players, for different reasons, either rest or whatever you want to call it. If Bruno starts this game, I don't know what we're doing with him. Like, I like Bruno, but give him a bloody rest. Like, give him a rest. You put him on the right wing against Man City. Like, just give him a rest. He's played more football than anybody in Europe in the last year. You've got an opportunity to rest him. Give Mason Mount a start. Do it. Even if Garnacho plays well, he won't start on the weekend, says First. And hi, Mark. Quite excited for the Newcastle game. Missed you in career mode yesterday, but understand you're a very busy man. Keep up the great work, says Horn. Thank you very much for your super chat, pal. Apologies for missing career mode yesterday, but I was doing a football video with Ben Foster and Angry Ginge, and you know, sometimes you just got to get out and touch grass. Score predictions. Honestly, I think that it's really hard to predict because it depends what team Eddie Howe picks, and it depends what team Erik ten Hag picks. But I 2-0 Man United. Don't even know why. Don't have any confidence in any score predictions at the moment. Have got no idea what will happen. But I think it's one of those games where you have to win. You have to win this game, because if you don't, you know, these are the sort of games, even I know, these are the sort of games that end up with you getting the sack. You know, if you lose to Newcastle with all the injuries they've got at Old Trafford in the Carabao Cup as the holders, it's embarrassing. If you then go to Fulham and lose, it's embarrassing. And I just think these are the sort of games that if you start to lose them, I mean, look, if he lost to Newcastle, Fulham and Copenhagen, I think he'd be in massive problems, like massive problems. And that can't happen. That can't happen. If I was a Manchester United player, I know they earn a lot of money for their feet, and some people think they haven't got much going on upstairs. But if I was a Man United player, you know, if I was Rasmus or Casemiro or Varane or Anthony or Reguilon or anybody else, I'd be thinking, Does it benefit me if this manager gets sacked? And the honest answer is no, it does not. Who's going to come in? Are they going to like you? Are you going to be part of their plans? This is what players need to realise. Like, the grass is not always greener. And, you know, what do you want to do? I look at people like Rashford and Bruno and Maguire and McTominay and those people that have been around for a long time. Surely they realise that when you sack a manager, it doesn't always work out. Or is it just about earning money at Man United and having a nice lifestyle? Like, where's the winning culture at Manchester United? Where's the ambition at Manchester United? And these are the sort of games where, you know, if you have been misinterpreted, if you have been unfairly criticised, these are the games where you perform and show, look, this is what I can do. And that's what we need to see in this game. But Newcastle are sort of the opposite of us. Yes, they've got injury problems. Yes, they're going to be weakened. And yes, they arguably could be the underdog in this game because of that. But what Newcastle will do is they will come over. This is the danger. This is the danger side. And this is what we'll have on Saturday against Fulham and Marco Silva. Is we may have the better players. We may technically be the favourites. But we are up against Eddie Howe and Newcastle, who, yes, they're depleted by injury, but they're not going to be depleted mentally, and they're not going to be depleted in relation to work rate. They will work for Eddie Howe. They will be organised for Eddie Howe, and they will give everything for that system, and they will do it. It might not be good enough on the night. We might still beat them, but they will do that. And if we don't turn up and we don't do that, then we're going to put ourselves into problems. Rest Hoyland and bring Martial, bring him on the 60th minute, says Mario. You could do that. I'd just do it the other way around. James Cave says, afternoon, Mark. Would never wish for no European football, but I think it's what Ten Hag needs for a season. Arsenal needed that time with Arteta, says James. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about that. There's a long, long way to go. I still am of the mind that when it comes to United, that we get players back from injury and we have a really far better end to the season than we've had start to the season. There's still a lot of points to play for, and I still think that we're capable of climbing that league and getting into Europe in some shape or form. But it's a great point, actually, because we talk about Sir Jim Radcliffe coming in. He's not going to own all of the football club. We talk about where the money's going to come from Sir Jim, because it's all going to the Glazers and shareholders. And then you look at immediate problems like not qualifying for the Champions League. That will cost the club money. It will cost the club a lot of money. And also, if the players are so interested in money, they earn more money when we're in the Champions League as well. We're such a hard club to solve mentally. I don't really get it. But yeah, interesting that James says that. Look, we would benefit from more time on the training ground, but ultimately we have to deal with what we've got. And I think that this game in itself is almost a contradiction if we don't use it for what it is. There's all the moaning about injuries, and we have got a lot of injuries. There's all the moaning about fatigue and relentlessness and how many games everybody's played. And yet here there is an opportunity to start Anthony, who didn't start at the weekend, start Garnacho, who didn't start at the weekend, start Mount, who didn't start at the weekend, start Amrabat, who came off at half-time. You know, you can rejuvenate and refresh the most important area of the pitch. As for the back four, you know, you can change your centre-backs and refresh that as well. So there's a real opportunity to rest some players. And if he doesn't take that opportunity to pick the likes of Rashford and Bruno, I think it's just more of the same. And I don't think that's the way to go. I think we need to be... I think it's not just rejuvenating the team as well. It's rejuvenating the fan base. I'm pretty sure there'll be 75,000 fans there tomorrow night, even though it's a Carabao Cup game. And they will be fans travelling from all over Europe, not just the country. And they need to see something to rejuvenate them. And I think the worst thing for any football fan is when you see a performance like Manchester City at the weekend, where so many players let themselves down and let the shirt down, and then you turn on the next game or you turn up for the next game and you see the same players again. What you actually want to see is a reaction. I know it wasn't 7-0 Anfield, but you want to see a reaction from the manager and you want to see a reaction from the players. And the way to do that is to give other people an opportunity. I mean, look, Scott McTominay has started, I think, every single game since his 2 goals against Brentford. He started against Copenhagen, he started against Sheffield United, and he started against Man City. And I don't think he's played well in any of them. So he needs to be taken out of that team so that people like Mason Mount can have a game. And I think this is the perfect game for Mason Mount. Like, it's the perfect game for him to start. I think he has to start. Amrabat has to start. And Garnacho has to start. Has the FA confirmed yet whether they are taking the Garnacho episode any further, or are they going to wait until we get injuries, then ban him, says Glenny Boy. Well, I've got to be honest, Glenny Boy. I'd completely forgotten about that. So this relates to the post that he put out that people were trying to indicate was racist against Onana, even though Onana said it wasn't, and I think everybody in the world knows it wasn't. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, but hopefully no news is good news on that one, because we don't want to be... Yeah, it'd be typical, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely typical that Garnacho plays tomorrow as a worldie and the FA ban him for Fulham and Rashford comes back in. So, yeah, I don't know. I've not heard anything about that at the moment. Do you think we'll turn this around shortly? I think we'll play crap football and grind out some results, but the football would be appalling, says Chikorito. I think there's a... Look, it won't please those people who still... I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have run, I have climbed. I'll stop there. But I still haven't found any of you giving us, in the comment section or the live chat, an alternative to why you want to sack Ten Hag and what you would do. And I'm waiting for it, and I'm open for it. And look, we're open for business. I do not dictate the conversation. You know why I back Ten Hag, and I've communicated it very well to you last night and on the morning show. I know there are people there that are wanting Ten Hag out, but I still haven't seen anybody give a coherent and sensible alternative. Do you think we'll turn this around? I do, Chikorito. I'm going to come back to that. And why don't United appeal the bad decisions we get? I know we're playing bad, but we're having so many wrong decisions against us, says Abhishek. I don't know. Man United are powerless. It seems to me that Jurgen Klopp can mention penalties against them and suddenly start getting a load of penalties. But Man United just don't seem to be able to do that. Ridwin says, is Varane back? He is, but I wouldn't use him in a game like this. I would keep him on the... I'd keep him back for the weekend. But look, a couple of things to be positive about. As I know, as I've said to you a few times, Erik Ten Hag will be the quickest manager to hit to 50 wins if he wins a couple of games really, really quickly. Quickest manager in our history to get to 50 wins. He was the quickest manager in Ajax's history to get to 100 wins. And last season at Manchester United, he's the only manager in his debut season to win 38 games. So he's a manager that, regardless of what you think about him as a coach, he is a manager. I mean, Joe says it's meaningless. Why is it... Joe. So last season was meaningless, was it, Joe? You don't like winning trophies. You don't like getting in the Champions League. Meaningless. It's meaningless, Joe. Okay, it's meaningless. It's meaningless to win games for Manchester United now. Okay, so what's the meaning of supporting Manchester United, Joe? Tell us, please elaborate. Are you in Gary Neville's basement, says Bazza. But getting back to the point, before being distracted by Prats, I think we will go on a winning run if the players allow it. Yeah, if the players have down tool and they want to sack another manager, it's very hard to go on a winning run. I mean... People never really understand why you get smacked up by Watford, why you get smacked up by Leicester. That should never happen. But that happened to Solskjaer because the players had down tools. When we got, his final game was Watford, wasn't it? But they'd down tools by then. They decided he wasn't the manager, and therefore there'll be a little collective agreement that we just drop off a little bit and lose this game. Horrible, isn't it? But that happens. It happens at other clubs. It's called downing tools. And... Ten Hag will start grinding out results because that's what he does. As I said, he's broken these records at Ajax and Manchester United, and that's because he can win games, and he will win games. But it's so dependent on the players. If we let Ten Hag do his job, he will win games. He won't win the league. He probably won't get top 6, but he'll start winning some games, yes. But if the players have down tools, he won't win games. We'll lose to Fulham. We'll lose tomorrow. So... I'm very much looking at the players at the moment because whatever you think about Ten Hag, he's not a bad enough manager to go and lose 4 or 5 in a row. But the players could lose 4 or 5 in a row if they start downing tools, which I know some of them won't. I'm not so sure about some of the other ones, which is why I wouldn't have them anywhere near the starting 11. One thing I hope we remember is other than Anthony, Mount and maybe Højlund, none of the players we signed were Ten Hag's top choices, says Shahin. And I really don't understand the sack Erik Ten Hag movement, says Alex. Mate, we still are yet to see an alternative to sacking Ten Hag. And until I see it, I can't accept it. Last year, it was not Ten Hag's team and lads played their heart out. Next season, he keeps making excuses even after buying players that he's backing all day. Quickest to 50 and what, says Barham. Absolutely don't understand what you're talking about. So he didn't pick the team last year? He didn't buy Casemiro, Martinez, Anthony, Malacia, Ericsson. Didn't buy those players. Was that Ollie's team? Was it? Didn't pick the team. Didn't tell him what to do. And then this year he is picking the team, and that's why we're shit. Okay, great. As I said, I'll read your alternatives out. It's for the people to laugh at. I wonder where all the Erik ten Hag outers will go when we start winning games. Same thing with the media, says Trey. Yes. Well, look, I think the next two games are massive. Newcastle, Man United in the Carabao Cup game is massive anyway, but it's a massive game tomorrow. And I'm not naive. There will be people who support Manchester United who deep down are hoping that we lose so they can continue the hate train. That's life. There'll be people like me and most of you mostly who would just be hoping that we can find a way to win so that we can survive and keep building. I think that with regards to the likes, I desperately wish we had Luke Shaw and Martinez back. I think it would make a massive difference to the team to have those two back, but they're a long way off. I don't think they're going to be back before Christmas. We've got Anfield before Christmas. I look at the future games and I go, oh, it's going to get difficult. But look, we are what we are. We're in a fight. Sometimes, sometimes people want to be part of a fight and sometimes they want to join the enemy. I think the media are the enemy. I think some of the ex-players are the enemies. I think that they're calling players out and they want the manager out, and I don't agree with that. I support Manchester United. I will always try and stay with a manager for as long as possible. I stayed with Ollie a long, long time. I stayed with Mourinho a long, long time, and I'm certainly not even contemplating turning on Ten Hag. I don't like where Manchester United are, but I sometimes like the siege mentality. I like it when everyone's against us, and I'm sort of in the trenches fighting as well. I want this to work. I want us to win tomorrow night. I want us to beat Fulham. I want us to beat Copenhagen, beat Luton, get to the international break, 2 more weeks for players to come back. That's what I'm looking at. I know what's beyond that, and it's really difficult. But we're I don't want to sound like Kevin Keegan, but we're fighting, and tomorrow night is a game that we have to win. You can't be criticised when you win games, and well, you can, but it buys you time. Sometimes when people are entrenched in their decisions, even if we're doing well, they will just wait for a loss, as the Inquisition. Yeah, and I think some people are starting to make their minds up. But look, I want to be even balanced here. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I think that one thing that people don't understand in life is that you can criticise something without saying get rid of it. Like, I'm married. If the wife does something and I don't agree with it, I will tell her I don't agree with it, but I'm not getting divorced. Unless it's something really bad. And if Erik ten Hag doesn't pick that team tomorrow and he starts Bruno and Rashford and McTominay, I will be like, oh my God, what is he doing? But it won't make me go, you sack him. And I think that's what some people don't understand in football. As I said, if you come home tonight, or you go round to your mum's tonight, if she's still alive, hopefully she is, and rest in peace if she isn't. But if she is, and she's cooked you think you're getting apple pie and custard for pudding, and she gives you a yogurt, are you going to say, that's it, tomorrow morning I'm going straight to the courts and I'm disowning you and changing my name, you bitch? Of course you're not. You're going to say, that's very disappointing, maybe throw in a few expletives. But that's what I don't understand about football. If I see Rashford, Bruno and McTominay start tomorrow, I will moan about that team. And people will go, wow, you can't moan about it. You don't want him to get sacked. And I'm like, don't agree with his team selections to sacking the guy? No, that's not how it works. It's an extremity. You can be unhappy with Ten Hag's decisions and still support him as a manager. And only in football do we go, is there no amber? It's green or red. If you say anything negative about the manager, you want him sacked. And if you say anything positive about the manager, that means you want him to stay forever. And actually, it's about what's in between. And I think the team he picks tomorrow, I may well react to it in a way of frustration, but it doesn't mean I want him to get sacked, and it doesn't mean I want us to lose a game of football. I think there's a lot to be critical of Ten Hag at the moment. In fact, forget sacking him. What are the things that are frustrating you at the moment about Ten Hag? Because I'll give you my top 5. Sean Turner says, I think we've all got to remember football is based on results. People may be overreacting to our current results. Hopefully Ten Hag can turn it around and we are all fickle and he will win the fans back around, says Sean. Exactly. He's not at the point of no return, Sean, is he? He's at the point of frustration. He's not at the point at no return. I would guarantee if we had a logical... Well, I'll do a poll now, but I don't trust these things. But I think a logical vote would probably have Ten Hag in around 80%. I think Erik Ten Hag was playing the long game by that lineup yesterday. He's showing fans how overhyped those media PR players are. Otherwise, he is clueless as vengeance. If I said that to my mum, I wake up in hospital, says the honest tiger. Yep, good one. Good one on your mum. Ten Hag... in, out, there we go. You know what? I just want to go back to that comment. I think it's fantastic. Ten Hag playing the long game against Man City. It did enter my head on Sunday afternoon, briefly, and you've just reminded me of it, so I'll share it with you. When I saw him say that it was tactical to pick Evans and Lindelof over Reguilon and Varane, everything I've ever learnt about football went out the window. Everything I've read and seen about Ten Hag went out the window. And I even tweeted it. I cannot understand what he's talking about there. And somebody said, well, you're just thick. And I'm still thick then. To this moment, I do not understand why you would do that. Because everybody in the world knows that Varane's better than Evans. And everybody in the world knows that Reguilon's a better left back than Lindelof. So why would you say it's not about injury or form, it's tactical? And I thought, you know what? Why is he lying? Because I think he's lying. He's lied about a lot of things, Ten Hag. It's a criticism, in fairness. He lies about a lot of things. We know he does. You know, he lied about the Ronaldo situation, the De Gea situation. He does. I don't mind a manager lying. In certain circumstances, you have to. But was he playing the long game? And what I mean by that is, was he playing the long game in the sense that playing Varane against Man City was a waste of using Varane in a game that he thought, you know, we probably weren't going to win anyway. And the same with Reguilon. Was he protecting Varane and Reguilon for the longer game rather than throwing them into a game where we probably weren't going to win anyway? It sounds very defeatist, but maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know. Anyway, what are the things that are frustrating me about Ten Hag at the moment? Certainly team selections, I am frustrated with that. There's certain players that are being picked that I just don't agree with. And it's not just Rashford. You know, McTominay starting 3 games in a row because he scored 2 late goals against Brentford. I mean, there's reward and there's insanity. And I think that's just ridiculous. Substitutions at half-time where he's basically changing his midfield every half-time. I mean, that's an admission of failure. So I'm not a big fan of that. I think that the late substitutions sometimes as well. I think we see Martial or Garnacho or Anthony or whoever coming on too late to make an impact on a game. I think those are 3 things that at the moment that are really frustrating to me. And I think the other couple of things I would say basically sort of revolve around, you know, self-preservation. I don't think what he said about Varane at the weekend and Reguilon again did himself any favours. I think he's got to be... I think he and the club and the people around him have got to be a little bit more smarter in this modern world around protecting him. You know, he's getting it from all angles at the moment. Ex-players, media, fans. Where's the PR around Ten Hag? Because we're not getting much. And where's the PR from Ten Hag himself? Because he's not giving much. And I think there's some work that could be done there. Because one thing I would say about Ten Hag is that he's not British. So he's not aware of the media and the way it works here. So he's a Dutch man in Manchester who really we saw in the first few weeks that he was manager, that he was very abrupt with his answers to questions, and this frustrates journalists. And if you frustrate journalists, they'll turn on you, and we've seen that happen, obviously. But he got better in interviews, but I think he's a bit of a closed book, Ten Hag. You know, he's a bit of a closed book. As I said, sometimes he gives half-truths in interviews. And I think the perception of Ten Hag is not warm from the media. I think the fans like him, but it's not warm from the media. And I think that there are things that Ten Hag could do to ingratiate himself more into this fan base and, you know, build a better relationship, because it's not as warm as it needs to be. He should do an interview with me. That would blow the doors off. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? But no, I think there's more that Ten Hag could do to, you know, attach himself to the... And it's not about the matchday fans. The matchday fans are brilliant. You know, I remember when everyone wanted Moyes to get sacked and they were singing "We'll stand with David Moyes." The same with Ollie. The same with Van Gaal. Matchday fans are fantastic, especially the away support. They will stick with a manager no matter what, because it's like an exclusive club, and you feel like that, you know, camaraderie. It's the massive fan base, the worldwide fan base. You know, for all those thousands of people that watch games, they're a minuscule percentage of the wider fan base, and that's the game you've got to play. If you want to sell shirts, if you want to buy players, it's not just the matchday fans, it's the massive amount of fans out there. And I think that we need to do more as a club to ingratiate Ten Hag into that, because I think he does come across as quite aloof and quite distant. And I think that's just naturally his personality, but you can work on that. But yeah, definitely the things that are frustrating me at the moment are some of the team selections. And I don't, for 1 minute, suggest that I won't be frustrated tonight, because I don't think we'll get that tomorrow night, because I don't think we'll get that lineup. But we have to win. Maybe Erik Ten Hag will get to a point where he wants out, says Total Football. Well, we've never had that before. We've never had that before. But so I doubt it would happen, but you know. 75% of you want Ten Hag in, 25% want Ten Hag out. And let's not forget, that's going up to 76%. So that's great to see, because obviously there'll be angry people who are saying it because they're angry. There'll also be a lot of people who are saying out who are rival fans in the chat, because that happens. And there will also be a lot of people who are saying Ten Hag out who've got no alternative. So I think 75-25 is not too bad. The position we're in, I think that's quite a positive, actually, because the 25%, there'll be some core Ten Hag outers, but as I say, there'll be rival fans, angry fans, and people who don't have an alternative. So I'm very happy with 75-25, because I actually think the real score is probably more like 85-15, and that's a majority, and I'm very happy about that. But we've got to win. I'm not dismissing that Ten Hag could get the sack. I don't want it to happen. But the next 3 games are probably more slippery than City. You know, Newcastle at home, you've got to win. Fulham away, you can't be losing that. Copenhagen, got to win. So those 3 games are actually probably bigger than City, because they're not games that you can afford to lose. Thanks everyone for watching. Just a quick update. Goldbridge working overtime at the moment. 3 streams in a day on United Stand. That's football as well. God, we're short-staffed at the moment, I reckon. Where's Beth? I know where Beth is. Morning, Mark. Ten Hag outers will change their minds once we win 3-4 in a row. Bad form is temporary, but patience pays off in the long term, says Mo. Thank you very much. We're in Copenhagen talking about Beth next week. I think it's Beth in Copenhagen next week. So if you're going to be over there, we'll be at the press conference. Link in with us. Tyke says I'll work for you. Well, as I said, that's footballmedia@gmail.com. We've got the auditions in Manchester for the Manchester show. If you're interested, professional or not, if you know, we're looking for people in 2024. So if you want to do a live audition, send us a 60-second audition video about United, a topic that you're interested in, to that'sfootballmedia@gmail.com, and we'll take a look and shortlist you for Manchester on December the 11th. And if you know, come along and do a live audition. Which reminds me, 10 tickets are being given away for the Manchester show on the podcast today. Goldbridge Saves Football. Links in the live chat and the video description. Get onto the podcast. You'll see how you can enter. And if you win, you get a ticket for yourself and a friend or a girlfriend or a bit on the side or a gran, whatever. It's up to you. Links in the live chat and the video description. Listen to the podcast. You'll see how to enter. We're giving away 20 tickets, actually, really. But check it out. Really looking forward to it. Back at 8 o'clock tonight. Might turn the light green. Might wear a... I remember when I wore that Dracula outfit that time. I'm never doing that again. But thanks, everyone. Really encouraged by 75% of you being behind the manager as well. So check it out. And everybody, Mo, Ten Hag outers will change their minds once we win 3 or 4 in a row. Patience is key in the long term. Thank you, Mo. Appreciate that. Alif says, my friend Faz introduced me to you during COVID and it helped me through tough and dark times. Keep up the great content and keep on inspiring, Mark, says Alif. Thank you very much, Alif. You're a legend. Total Football, we did yours as well. Yeah, as I said, tickets, you can win. You can buy tickets in the video description, but you can win tickets. So make sure, I mean, it's a United Stand show, so get on the podcast. You could win 20 tickets. Well, you won't get all 20, but you know what I mean. It's going to be a great night. The night before Bayern, Manchester, December the 11th. Get on the podcast. You'll like the podcast anyway. Win the tickets. Speak to you later.